How's it going, YouTube? Happy Thursday. Well, in this case, it's a little bit of a sad Thursday. I just crossed into Alabama from Tennessee, headed south, obviously. But typically, the last few years, when I've come down 65 into Alabama, the first rest area right there, the Welcome Center inside Alabama, has had a Saturn 1B rocket on display, an actual NASA rocket that would have probably flown maybe a Skylab mission or some sort of other low Earth orbit science mission, or possibly even been a test rocket to certify the Apollo capsule and command module, the command module, the service module, and possibly deploying the lunar module and testing all those systems prior to Apollo 8, 9, 10, and 11. So it was always really cool to see that artifact. And the Welcome Center had a lot of really cool information, and one time I had an opportunity to stop, and I took some really nice pictures of the site. But the sad news is now that renovation of that facility is in very much high gear. They've demolished the building that was there completely. It's all the way gone. They're actually already rebuilding, they're building the new facility now. But this was announced, I think, about 6 months to a year ago, maybe more. Well, maybe not a year ago, but within at least the last 9 months for sure. The Saturn 1B rocket that was on display, standing tall and proud in the Alabama sky, that was going to be removed and replaced by another artifact of American space exploration and so forth. They didn't specify what artifact or what vehicle or what element of the space program would be replacing it, but they did say that yes, the Saturn 1B is going to come down. We're going to replace it with something else. The story behind that rocket is they had when they put it in place in the Welcome Center, the infrastructure to get it there was much more accommodating. Right now, there's no way they could have trucked that whole rocket system, that whole rocket assembly to the site with today's bridges and everything else. I think the bridges that they would have to work around now were not even built yet. And I believe they just hauled it in. I don't know if they airlifted it. I think they brought it in over the roads, if I remember the story correctly. But right now that rocket has been dismantled. It is no longer on the pedestal it was sitting on. The last time I came through this region, I was headed north on 65 into Tennessee, and I looked over and I happened to see that the engines had been removed from the rocket. The first stage engines had been removed, and now the whole rocket is off the pedestal, and it's been cut apart. It's in the process of being, I think, thoroughly dismantled in order to be scrapped, and the material, whatever salvageable materials used elsewhere. But it is extremely unlikely that any part of that spacecraft will end up being repurposed in a museum elsewhere, or that they'll keep any component of it on site as a component of the Welcome Center, because Alabama does have a pretty rich history with the U.S. space program and NASA as a whole. But the Saturn 1B is down, it is dismantled, and it is very sad to see that. There was concern leading up to in the story that I read about the announcement where they were going to take that rocket down and replace it. There was some allusion to some concern over the rocket's structural integrity, because it's, 60-year-old rocket essentially, or close to it, and it had been exposed to the elements for probably ever since it was built, and once it rolled out of the assembly plants, whether that was in Louisiana or somewhere down in Mobile, I have no idea. And then it was never used in the flight, obviously, otherwise the booster would have been expended into the ocean, and only the capsule would have been recovered and probably scrapped rocket. That would be really nice. Maybe a mock-up of one of the space shuttle solid rocket boosters, something that's going to stand tall and proud and really call back to those crucial periods in American history where we were pushing boundaries that we never even thought we could have pushed, and we realized visions that up until the 60s were quite literally science fiction. They were absolute fantasy. And it set the stage for absolutely incredible, monumental achievements that came after. I mean, the Space Shuttle program, for all of its faults and flaws, was a program that completely redefined orbital science in so many ways, with the programs that it was able to deploy into orbit, along with the construction of the International Space Station, which without question is the Space Shuttle's greatest contribution to the planet. Not only facilitating the ability to heavy lift all the individual components into orbit, but the space station, I don't think, would be nearly as big as it is if the Space Shuttle had not been available to deploy it and facilitate a crew that could conduct the assembly in orbit. Yeah, the Russians were able to the Soviets were able to assemble Mir and have that be the first permanent orbital establishment for a long time. And they did that without a space shuttle. They did that, I think, with just their typical Soyuz boosters. I think they used automation, not very much in the way of manned expedition, but there's a lot of history of the Mir program I really just don't remember. I remember this. No one really cared about the Mir space station unless you were in the U.S. military in the 80s when it was being assembled, until after the end of the Cold War, and in a true expression of glasnost, Russian and American partnership in space. When Space Shuttle Atlantis docked at the Mir space station for the very first time, that was an incredible moment. And from then on, the space shuttle was a crucial component of enabling the Russian space station to remain operational. But then it became pretty clear that the Mir space station was just not a viable investment, so they were already planning against the International Space Station. And then, again, through partnership with the U.S. and the Russians, that was built. And it's still a magnificent space station, and it's got a long life left ahead of it, thankfully. But we don't have a heavy lift system yet fully operational to either replace it or expand it or even build something else. At least not yet. Maybe in the next 10 years we'll get something up there that can do the job. But as I finish rambling about those programs and circle back to the Alabama rest area, I really do hope they can replace that rocket with something that's going to be as powerful a symbol and a monument and a memorial to America's space prowess as that Saturn 1B was. Because even though it wasn't a true full-fledged Saturn V stack, which that would have been absolutely magnificent to see, because that rocket is just glory personified or embodied, however you want to phrase it. Obviously, that was just too big. That was 363 feet of magic, as it were. And they have, I think there's one complete one on display on its side down at Cape Canaveral. There might be another one on display. I really do forget. I think there's two on display in a couple of different locations. But this rocket, this Saturn 1B that was at the Alabama rest area, that was the only rocket that I know of that was standing, that was displayed in the idea of a launch configuration, on a launch pad, engines in place, and from far away looking like for all the world that it was ready to go up. Until you get close and you see that there's moss and mold and dirt and slime and faded paint feathers all the way to the ground to anchor it to make sure it wouldn't tip over in heavy winds or storms. But still, until you got closer to see those flaws, it looked real special. So I hope something equally special is able to take its place. And with that being said, YouTube, thank you so much for watching my ramble. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you down the road.